This is Murderous Minors, Killer Kids, back to bring more stories of the damage kids can do. Stories you have to hear to believe. Episode 23. One House. Hey lovelies, War Baby here with some stories I hope you find as intriguing as I did. Back in 2015, Ashlee Martinson woke up on her 17th birthday to what she described as her stepdad beating her mother. She immediately messaged her 22-year-old boyfriend saying that she knew he would kill her mom one day and that she didn't want to be around to see it happen. Ashlee tells her boyfriend, Ryan Dan Cisco, that they should skip town. She tells Dan that she wants to get one of her stepdad's guns and blow him away. It's a Friday and Ashlee goes to school celebrating her birthday at lunch with her friends as high schoolers do. They found her to be her usual, smiling self, quick to bring a smile to her friend's face, but not revealing the full face of her pain to the world. The following day, March 7, 2015, didn't start any better. It's reported that Ashlee's stepdad, 37-year-old Thomas Ayers, and mother, 40-year-old Jennifer Ayers, found out that Ashlee was dating a 22-year-old. They told him on Facebook that they could press charges. Ashlee was attempting to flee the situation. On that Saturday, she packed some belongings and headed out to stay at a friend's house. But her stepdad tracked her down and brought her back to the family's home. She was sent to her room. Ashlee ran inside and up to her room, where she holed up with one of her stepdad's illegally owned firearms. According to crime scene photos, he has multiple firearms laying about the house, bullets and magazines strewn amongst the toys and crayons on a tabletop. In addition to Ashlee, Thomas's 8 and 9-year-old daughters live in the home. Thomas and Jennifer met online in 2011, and by 2015 had added another daughter, then two, to the family. They had only lived there in the town of Piehl, Wisconsin, near Rhinelander, for the past 9 months. However, she had made several close friends who clearly adored her. Thomas had moved the family to the rural community to have property to hunt on. Ashlee seemed damaged, neglected, mistreated, abused. Clearly, some very sad things had happened to her. She seemed like a child with a less than perfect home life. And it was true. Her childhood and her home life were both less than perfect. As it turned out, Ashlee was made to work and pay rent, as well as wake up at 4 a.m. to do chores around the house, before school as a junior at Rhinelander High. The past few years had not been easy. At the age of 8, Ashlee reported that her mother got a new boyfriend.
He was extremely abusive. That man took everything from me. It started off with touching. I'm sorry, it just was hard. Really, really hard. He raped me when I was 9.
She was often left in the care of her abuser.
She would send him in to tuck me in at night or to give me a bath.
And she felt certain that her mother was enabling the abuse.
She knew what was going on.
There was another incident at the age of 9. She recalled being molested in a car while a neighbor watched. Her mom was there too, cementing Ashlee's belief that her mother let these things happen to her instead of going out of her way to protect her. She actually went to live with her biological dad for a while, but reportedly was physically abused there. Her father apparently hit and kicked her, and to this day they have no relationship, Ashlee returned to her mom's house. Jennifer had married Thomas when Ashlee was 13. There were 3 other daughters in the home, as you may recall, and the 2 older girls had their own tales of abuse at the hands of their father. One remembered being literally strangled. They recounted being spanked hard with a thick leather belt.
You know how people say that I'm the monster? He was the monster.
Thomas Ayers showed an extreme level of violence against the family's pets and used that abuse to hurt his children. One dog was thrown against a wall. Thomas even told his daughter that a dog had been killed and fed to a bear. As far as Ashlee was concerned, her relationship with her stepdad was more complicated. She was much older and she wasn't his child. And I don't know if these are reasons, but regardless, he didn't strike her or abuse her in any physical way. Thomas did things instead like make her pay rent and do all of the chores. Even though she had school and a part-time job at the Shopko store in Rhinelander, she was permitted access to a pickup truck but had to surrender her keys outside of school and work hours. All of these things sucked, but she could live with it as she had been doing. But it was the way he really chose to punish her that broke her. She says he often beat her mother or her sisters instead of her, but to punish her. And he made it known to everyone that he was beating them because of Ashlee.
That was my punishment. That was the way he knew he could hurt me.
And how did Ashlee deal with all of this trauma and stress? One outlet she frequently turned to was her blog, Welcome to Nightmare, where she posted under the pen name Vamp Chick. Here, as you can imagine, her darkest thoughts and drawings seem to reside. January 14th, 2015. Murder Madness. I'm sitting in this empty room all alone. I can hear nothing but their screaming souls. Souls of madness, but not like me. I can see their innocence, unlike the monster I am, that no one can see, and what I have become, what I have done to someone like me, that no one can see, a psychopath in the dark. January 29th, 2015. Insanity Love. They say one of us is to blame. You're holding that knife covered in blood. I'm laughing off the pain, wondering which one of us is guilty, if we're both totally insane. Could it be we're broken in just all the right places? Perforated just so right that we fill each other's empty spaces? A pair of answers to a question that no one ever asked, and when they remove our disguises, all they'll find are 2 more masks. And then the week before her 17th birthday, on March 2nd, unworthy. Rushing through the woods late at night, deep into the darkest corner, where the agonizing screams cannot be heard, walking into a small cabin, marveling at the sweet horrors of blood that I thirst for. I then take the next victim who is unconscious. I tightly bind them to a low table, awaiting them to wake once more. I clean the dry blood off my tools from a previous session. The last body has been disposed of just hours before. Yet I have not been satisfied with the pain, agony, and blood. I bend down as they start to wake. Welcome to hell, I whisper in her ear. Never again will you see the light of day. By the time she encountered Dan Cisco, she was ready to get the hell out of tiny Piehl, Wisconsin, and as far from her parents as she could reasonably think of. Dan had an aunt in Tennessee. They could start over there. Ashlee tried to move out, but it just never worked out. Even on that Saturday, March 7th, it hadn't worked out again, and she told her friend they would try again on Sunday. Crime Watch Daily did a pretty detailed piece about this case, and there's plenty of local and national media coverage, which describes many facts about Ashlee, Thomas, and Jennifer. Her friends speak about her as well. I never come to victim blame, but facts are facts. One fact that is glaringly obvious is that Thomas Ayers was a convicted felon with a lengthy criminal record and had been accused of crimes like DUI, kidnapping, and sexual enticement of a child under 15, and had been convicted of crimes such as domestic battery and assault. Such felony convictions barred him from legally owning firearms. By the time Ashlee was sent to her room after trying to move out to a friend's house, she was fed up. Sitting on her bed, she fondled one of her stepdad's shotguns, saying later that she was contemplating ending her own life. After he dropped her off, he'd left again, but he'd just returned and was calling out to see where she was. The oldest of the 3 younger sisters was 9 years old. She would later say that when she heard her dad ask where Ashlee was, her stepmom said her room. Thomas Ayers then said she's probably doing something stupid and climbed the stairs, ending at Ashlee's door. Ashlee knew he was coming. She could hear all of this too, and she was panicking. Here she was, holding her stepdad's gun in her room, something she absolutely was not allowed to do. Me personally, I would have stuck it under my bed. Ashlee, however, determined that a better decision for her life was to blast him. Her little sister says that she heard 2 shots and that Jennifer said, "What the hell was that?" and went upstairs to find out. The girl eventually straggles up the stairs after her and reported seeing her father with a gunshot wound to the head. She could also see Jennifer on the ground and Ashlee struggling on top of her. Ashlee told her to go to her room. She heard her stepmom say, "What are you doing? You're crazy." She took her sisters into their downstairs bedroom and closed the door. They saw Ashlee again when she came downstairs to give them juice and snacks. She was still holding a bloody knife. After taking 2 showers, she returned to the girls and told them to stay put, wrapping a cord around their doorknob and securing it to a banister. It was time for her to go pick up Dan Cisco and start fresh. The pair stayed overnight at Ashlee's friend John's house, and he later recalled seeing deep cuts on her leg and hands. John's dad apparently discovered that Dan was 22 years old and considered giving Thomas Ayers a call to see if he knew. However, he didn't. Wasn't until later on Sunday that John and his father began to hear reports that Ashlee's parents were dead and that she was the prime suspect. They tell investigators about Dan Cisco's aunt in Tennessee and that the Lovebirds were planning to stop at Dan's mother's house so he could tell her goodbye. John and his dad knew all about the difficulties Ashlee had at home. Her family had lived there for 9 months at this point, and she and John had always ridden the school bus together. They knew she got grounded and punished and didn't have the best relationship with her parents, so her moving didn't really strike them as odd. She'd been trying to move out for a while by then. As it turned out, Ashlee's little sisters hadn't stayed in their bedroom. They broke through the makeshift barrier and came face to face with their dead parents. Frightened beyond belief, they returned to their room, slept in there all night, and late the next morning mustered up the buckets of bravery it must have taken to get to a phone and call authorities. After a couple of hang-ups, a good connection is made, and it's not much longer before the 3 little girls were finally safe and no longer alone and scared. Detectives heard quite the tale from them, and the older 2 gave excellent witness testimony, which helped investigators establish a timeline of events. Those poor babies went back into that room and slept there together all night because they were afraid that Ashlee was still in the house. But she wasn't. She had gotten Dan Cisco, stayed the night at John's, and been well on the road by the time 911 began receiving hang-ups around 10:40 a.m. on Sunday, March 8th.
911, where's your emergency? 911, where's your emergency? Hello, this is 911. 911, where's your emergency? Hello? Hello? At my house.
At approximately 8:40 p.m., Ashlee and Dan are spotted traveling through Boone County, Indiana, in the Chevy Silverado she was sometimes allowed to drive. Pulled over by an eagle-eyed officer, she knew exactly why she was being detained.
Roll down the driver window. You know what all this is in reference to?
You do.